The Londonderry and Loch Swilly Railway was born in a golden age of railway optimism, yet by the time its network finally snaked across Donegal in the early 1900s, it wasn't a marvel of progress. It was already a project with limited economic viability. The real expansion, the lines reaching the far corners of the peninsula, like the ambitious Letterkenny to Burtonport and Boncrana to Cardona routes, happened between 1890 and 1903. This was decades after Ireland's railway boom had peaked. These new lines were built cheap and slow, using the narrow 3-foot gauge, with funding from the British government's Congested Districts Board. This wasn't just a business venture, it was a grand social experiment. The goal? To blast open the isolated region of impoverished western Donegal. The railway could connect remote fishing ports and mountain farms to the commercial hub of Derry. The logic was compelling on paper. Cheap transport would turn local fish, peat, and farm produce into profits, reversing the cycle of poverty and depopulation that had plagued the region since the famine. But the Swilly Railway was an ambitious project whose economic model was fundamentally flawed from the start. It faced insurmountable structural problems. The region simply didn't have the population or industrial base to sustain a railway. The routes were long, winding, and steep, leading to high running costs. While the railway initially relied on transporting British military personnel to bases around Loch Swilly, this traffic greatly diminished after Irish independence. Its later revenues were desperately dependent on the seasonal and erratic income from agriculture, peat, tourism, and the essential flow of migrants travelling to and from Northern Ireland and the UK. Just as the Burtonport extension opened in 1903, the world was changing forever. New forms of transportation became available. By the 1920s, the motor car, bus, and motor lorry were used to move goods and people throughout Donegal. The Swilly's trains were slow, inflexible, and costly to run. They couldn't compete with the direct, door-to-door convenience of road transport. To complicate matters further, the 1921 partition of Ireland drew an international border across its operation, saddling the railway with new bureaucratic nightmares. The new Irish Free State was short of money. It couldn't afford the subsidies needed to protect a cumbersome 19th century network from the relentless march of 20th century technology. The very forces of modernization that the railway was meant to serve ultimately pushed it into oblivion. The company rapidly commenced closing its lines. The Cardona branch extension was shut in 1935, and the final rail service was completely abandoned by 1953.